31, verses 7 through 9. For thus says the Lord, sing aloud with gladness for Jacob, and raise shouts for the chief of the nations. Proclaim, give praise, and say, save, O Lord, your people, the remnant of Israel. See, I am going to bring them from the land of the north, and gather them from the farthest parts of the earth, among them the blind and the lame, those with child and those in labor together. A great company they shall return here, with weeping they shall come, and with consolations I will lead them back. I will let them walk by brooks of water in a straight path in which they shall not stumble. For I have become a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn.
Our gospel reading today is from Mark, the 10th chapter, verses 46 to 52. They came to Jericho. As he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, Son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus stood still and said, Call him here. And they called the blind man, saying to him, Take heart, get up, he is calling you. So, throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, What do you want me to do for you? The blind man said to him, My teacher, let me see again. Jesus said, Go, your faith has made you well. Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. May we hear and understand what we learn from these scriptures today. So, what's going on at this time in our story? What's happening? All through Mark, it's been kind of shifting from Jesus the superstar doing all of the miracles and all of that kind of stuff to Jesus trying to let his disciples know the end is coming for this part of my ministry. I'm going to be delivered up. I'm going to be killed. So, until this little section, like chapters 9, 10 or so, Jesus has been this man of action, in control of everything, dazzling the crowds all the time. But during this time, he starts to become what the disciples think of as sort of passive. He's just kind of bent on facing his fate in Jerusalem. But the exception to that section of the gospel is this little vignette in Jericho. It kind of makes it stand out from this section of the gospel. Yeah, it's about a blind man seeing. Sure, we all get that. We all get that. But it's really about everybody seeing. Everybody seeking mercy and finally following. And that's one of the things that we really need right now. I have this title up here, A New Reformation. Every week I struggle with thinking of a title for a sermon. But honestly, we have so many people in the country, in the world even, saying they are followers of Jesus, saying they are Christians, and yet their actions tell us otherwise. But honestly, they're giving the church a really bad name. And that makes me mad. You know, it makes me mad. I have various friends in different parts of the world and some of many different beliefs who say, see, Christians are just terrible. I can't blame them, to be honest. Some of the stuff they see from people who say, I'm a Christian, and then they go and they do horrible things. It's a fight all the time, trying to communicate, no, that is not what being a Christian is about. Should we give up? No. No. It's really time for a reformation. Again. Again. And the story in Jericho kind of wakes people up a little bit. You notice in the story, they say, Manny tried to shush him up. We don't have too often of an issue here, but I've been to churches where, you come into church and everything's going along just right, and all of a sudden, somebody is disruptive. Sometimes the person does need to not be there. Sometimes there's something going on in their lives that they need some sort of medical help, or they need maybe some mental health assistance or something like that. Other times they may have a legitimate gripe, and they may be bringing it up. In this particular time, we have this, everybody's marching through, everyone's admiring Jesus, and all of a sudden it's, Son of David, have mercy on me! Son of David, have mercy! Son of David, have mercy on me! Son of David! He wouldn't shut up. He was determined. And Jesus said, bring him over here. Kind of like his scenes with the children. Bring them. What was going on? He was, of course, going to be able to show us that when someone trusts God and has that kind of faith in Jesus, to reach out and say, this is the one that can have mercy on me. This is the one that can reshape my life. This is the one that can change what I'm seeing. Yes, this story was about a man who was physically blind and who needed his eyes to be healed so that he would be able to see. But how many people need their eyes open? Just like the children that were clamoring, and the disciples, dim-witted as ever, say, no, keep the kids away. Jesus is too important for this. The blind man is rebuked. No, get him out of here. Get him out of here. He's causing a disturbance. But Jesus stops the constantly interruptible person. We can interrupt him all day, every day, and he will pay attention to us. He says, call him. Now that's kind of odd. Not, take heart, you'll be seeing soon. He says, call him. Take heart. He is calling you. He can take heart because he is called. He is called by Jesus to come and receive that healing, to come and get his eyes open. I always wonder when I read this story, how is it that Bartimaeus jumps up and springs over to Jesus? I'm like, what? How does he see where he's going? But it doesn't explain that. But anyway, he just jumps up and springs over there. Now, instead of just taking charge and saying, okay, you're healed, go on your way. Instead of commandeering Bartimaeus, he says, what do you want me to do for you? How would you feel if Jesus said to you, what do you want me to do for you? Now, if you were here last week, you know that he had asked the exact same word-for-word question of the sons of Zebedee, James and John. What do you want me to do for you? What was their answer? They wanted power and glory. They wanted to be on the right and left hand of Jesus' throne, and he takes his place in glory. What does Bartimaeus do? He keeps it a little simple. He wants to see. That's it. He wants to see. It invites us to realize our own deep need to see. Joel Marcus relates this story to a Holocaust survivor who wore dark glasses while giving testimony at the trial of Adolf Eichmann in the war trials. She was a Holocaust survivor, and she had dark glasses on inside during the trial. Her points, which she clarified herself, was that she appeared to be blind. But then with dramatic force she said, "I saw everything." Made a big impression. And then I love this part of this story about Bartimaeus. After, "What do you want me to do for you? I want to see." Jesus says to him, does he say, "Okay, now you can follow me"? Anybody remember what he said? He said, "Go your way." He didn't say, "Now you owe me, you have to follow me and pay up. Your insurance isn't paying this, so you'll get a bill." He said, "Go your way." And yet, Bartimaeus didn't just walk off. Bartimaeus, according to the scriptures, followed him on the way. They're pregnant words. They're full of something that is to be coming forth. They imply that he didn't just follow for 100 feet and then go home. They didn't just follow for a day or so. He followed him on the way. That road, that long, symbolic road of discipleship. And where are they headed right now? This wonderful, shining side trip to Jericho isn't their end objective, is it? They're headed for Jerusalem. They're headed for a massive crisis and terrible danger. Why did they even remember his name? Because he was among the company of the early followers of Jesus. Now, here's a fun fact. The name, Bartimaeus. Who likes to look up names and what they mean? Bartimaeus, it means son, that's the bar part, okay. Son of a guy called, son of a man named Honored. Honored. So this beggar, Bartimaeus, sits on the side of the road, is blind, begs for alms. This beggar is probably shunned by many people and pitied by others. But he's somebody's son, the son of an honored one. I've always kind of pictured him as he springs up to go get to Jesus and then to follow him, of casting away his old self, his old beggar cloak, ratty, dirty stuff, and following Jesus. And the question I have for us is, what is it that we need to cast aside in order to follow Jesus? The church that Martin Luther addressed needed to cast aside their greed and their hunger for power. They were so greedy that they were charging poor people every cent they had to pray for someone who had already passed on, and they told them that, okay, if you give me all of your money, I will guarantee you that your grandmother gets into heaven. These were called indulgences. They were so greedy that Rome kept dunning all the little churches around, making them send them all of their money so that they could build a wonderful, big, massive, beautiful cathedral in a place called the Vatican. Now, I've been there, and I love the Vatican, and it's beautiful, and it's inspiring. But I am troubled about the people that went without their basic necessities for the glory of the building. And the Reformation. I touched briefly last week on some preachers who seem to be kind of like James and John, looking for glory and power with their yachts and their planes and their $6 million estates and their church members on food stamps. So, I am delighted to see successful churches, even mega churches. There are some that are wonderful. I am not delighted to see the same thing in a counterfeit vein. that is not truly serving God or God's glory. What would the beggar have done with his cloak that he had to cast aside to follow Jesus? Most likely he would have had it spread out on the ground so that when he collected the alms, they could fall into the cloak and he could gather them all up together. Much like whenever I've gone to San Francisco, I'll put out my violin or viola case if I'm busking on the street to get money to go to Omar Khayyam's for dinner. You know, you put it out there on the street in front of you to collect the money. Either way, it's this abandonment of a key thing in order to follow Jesus. We even symbolize it in some ways in some churches that use an actual baptismal font and pool by putting on a pure white robe for baptism. We use it as a symbol. We cast aside the dirty work clothes, the dirty clothes, and put on the pure white robe. One other little example. St. Francis of Assisi, who embraced poverty, was sued by his father. He removed all of his fine clothes that his father had provided for him to return to him. And he stood without any clothing in the middle of the city and ended up with a humble homespun robe. Beggars are scary. I imagine as they walked by this man, "Son of David, have mercy on me! Jesus, son of a..." He was a little bit distracting. Beggars make otherwise invisible poverty visible to us. Sometimes it is a result of laziness or sloth or avarice. But no matter why the beggar is there, they are a challenge to wealth and generosity and holiness. In the Middle Ages, Dominicans and Franciscans chose to become beggars in solidarity with the poor. They deliberately were distancing themselves from the church's corruptions with wealth. John Wesley, famous Methodist, earlier than Methodist actually, but helped him to become Methodist, saw beggars as a question. He says, "The Lord has lodged money in your hands temporarily. What return will you make?" Another minister by the name of Peter Maurin, he was Dorothy Day's mentor, said, "What we give to the poor for Christ's sake is what we carry with us when we die." No, I'm not saying that we should all become beggars and poor and just sit on the street waiting for anybody else to bail us out. No, I'm saying that these people are a reminder of the need for God's generosity. Everything that we come across calls for us to see Jesus in these people and calls for us to think about, there's this saying, and it's been made fun of a lot, but it's an important saying. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do in this situation? Sometimes it's important, if we are the beggar, to ask the same question of ourselves. What would Jesus do? Now I know that we can't, at least not very many of us, we can't really put ourselves in that position. But maybe we can help 1 out of 20 start seeing that question for their own lives. How do we reform the church? How do we have a new Reformation? We cast aside whatever is holding us back, and we move forward following Jesus' road. Easier said than done, I know, but it's the only thing that will make the difference. It's the only thing that will actually open our eyes and the eyes of others to see us doing Jesus' work. And we hope that we can inspire these people. Instead of pushing them away from Jesus, we can say, come to me. Let Jesus say, come to me. What do you want me to do for you? Maybe they just want to see. Maybe they just want to be able to follow Jesus. But whatever it is, that road has to be open for each person. And the church can open that door. We can be that mouth, that eyes, that hand of Jesus saying, what can I do for you? I know there's controversy. Even right here. We had a horrible mess we had to clean up today. And it is our job to take care of the gifts that God has given us, which includes this wonderful building. So we do have to take care of that. And we do have to keep it secure. And at the same time, we still have to find a way to help people and to draw their attention to Jesus. I don't have a perfect answer for you today. I can't help but feel if we had our gates done and little fences up, we wouldn't have had that mess to clean up. And at the same time, we wouldn't have had that lesson to learn. That we have work to do. Because if these people hadn't been stuck on the street, there wouldn't be a mess. So let's do what we can. Let's work with our community. Let's work within ourselves, our little Bethel community, our city, our country, to change that and to do Jesus' work. Amen.